everybody, this is Overboy, and I'm going to be doing my review for the new movie, Elvis. So, this movie follows the career of Elvis Presley from when he first began until his death in 1977. And it just follows his career. It doesn't really follow his personal life. It does have little snippets of it, like stuff when he meets Lisa Marie and some of the stuff when he was a kid, but they don't really go too much into the story of Elvis and stuff, Elvis's personal life, like other biopics have done before. And this one is more, or just as much, a Colonel Parker story, because it's told from his point of view and stuff too. And like in the movie, he's on his deathbed and reminiscing about Elvis and the career Elvis had and everything. But I gotta say, this movie really impressed me. I went in expecting it would be at least pretty decent. I didn't expect to be blown away by it like I was. I've been a off and on Elvis fan for years. There's times where I can really enjoy his music and everything, and then there's times where I can't even stand the thought of even seeing his face, and it's because we have a family friend that is obsessed with Elvis, and for a really long time he stayed with us a few times over the years and stuff, and everything, and he would always talk about Elvis nonstop. You could say, hey, look at that crown on the floor, and he would find a way to bring Elvis into the conversation. And I would just get so tired of hearing about him and everything. But I haven't been around him as much in recent years and everything, and so it hasn't been as annoying hearing about Elvis, because I haven't really been hearing about him all the time until this movie came out, and I was like, I don't know that I even want to see this movie real bad. When I first heard they announced that Baz Luhrmann was directing it, I was like, I don't know, because I'm not a big fan of Baz Luhrmann and everything. At the time when they announced it, I wasn't really big on Elvis, and then they announced Tom Hanks was playing Colonel Parker, so I was automatically going to see it eventually anyway, because I love Tom Hanks. He's one of my favorite actors. And then I started seeing the trailers. I was like, yeah, it looks pretty decent. And then I actually see the movie, and it blew me away. This is easily the best movie of 2022 so far. I was just absolutely blown away by it. And Austin Butler is absolutely perfect as Elvis. I've seen live Elvis impersonators. I've seen different movies where different people have played Elvis throughout the years and everything. Even Kurt Russell has played Elvis, and even he wasn't near as good as Austin Butler. Austin Butler, like, literally became Elvis. When I watched the movie, I didn't see some actor playing him. I actually saw Elvis in the performance. It just was so well done. And the songs are pretty well done in here too. He sings some of them and he doesn't sing some, and to be honest, he was so good I couldn't tell which parts were him or not, and that's very, very hard to do with Elvis. Most of the time you can tell when someone's impersonating him, but this one, it didn't feel like he was just impersonating him. He embodied it and everything. I haven't really seen a lot of Austin Butler's stuff except for a few things he did. I think he was on some Disney Channel stuff and maybe some stuff on Nickelodeon, but I never really saw much of his stuff and everything. I don't know that I want to see any of his previous stuff. I think that this should be a good one to start off watching his career unfold, because I think he's going to become a huge star after this movie, because he was absolutely amazing as Elvis. And I'll say Tom Hanks is really good too, although he has a really, really laughably bad accent as Colonel Parker, and he doesn't really even sound like the real Colonel Parker, but take that aside, he actually does a really good job though. His performance is really good, and they did a really great job with the makeup effects on him. I could see them getting an Oscar nomination for that too, because to be honest, there were times I was watching the movie and I actually forgot that it was Tom Hanks and everything. He just disappeared into the role too. His accent wasn't very good, but aside from that, he was great. And he's great in everything, but he was outshined by Austin Butler, and that really says something. That shows how talented this dude is, because if you can outshine Tom Hanks in a movie, you have to be doing something right. And he did. He completely outshined Tom Hanks. It was just amazing. I will say, I'm not the biggest fan of Baz Luhrmann's stuff. I didn't really care for Moulin Rouge and everything. I thought it was pretty overrated. I might like it more if I rewatch it, because I haven't seen it in a long time. But at least back when the last time I watched it, I didn't like it. And I wasn't a big fan of his Romeo and Juliet. The only movies of his that I liked were Australia. I like that one quite a bit. I actually think it's kind of underrated, and liked what I saw of The Great Gatsby, but I don't think I've actually seen all of The Great Gatsby yet. That's another one I need to get, because when I tried to watch it the first time, it didn't work, and I've had copies of it on DVD that didn't work, or got messed up, but I think his directing and stuff was really good, and even though I'm not a big fan of his movies, I do admire his style. He has a really unique style, and he brings that to this movie. But it works better in this movie than it did in Moulin Rouge or Romeo and Juliet, personally, to me. I think he did an excellent job with this movie. And the movie's 3 hours long, and it flies by really quickly. It honestly felt like it was maybe an hour and a half, and it was double that, almost. And it wasn't quite 3 hours. I think it was almost 3 hours, because of the commercials and stuff being about 20 minutes or so, because they have to show 100 commercials before the movies nowadays. But I loved the performances in this movie and everything, and it just really worked. But there are some things I didn't like too. It's not a completely perfect movie. My biggest issue with the movie is they play modern music in the background sometimes in some of the scenes. Like, they have rap music playing and some rock music, and that doesn't fit in a movie about Elvis. There was no need to put that in there. I think that Baz Luhrmann did that on purpose. I don't know, but I thought that was kind of dumb, and it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit the first couple times I heard the rap music. But I get what they were trying to do with it, but I just didn't like it. They tried to incorporate Elvis into these rap songs a little bit, and it might have been cool to hear them by themselves, but in the movie it just didn't work. I wouldn't have even cared if they put them in the credits. Just don't put them in the actual movie. I will say though that I think it's Casey Musgraves that does a version of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You that actually plays during one of the scenes in the movie, and that one actually didn't bother me quite as bad, because she did a pretty decent job on the song and everything, and the way the scene played out, it worked in that scene. And there are some inaccuracies. They definitely took some liberties with this movie. They didn't go fully into detail about certain things about Elvis that would have been even more controversial if they would have brought it up today, like how old Priscilla was when they were dating, and when they first got together she was only 14 and he was like 24 or 25. That would have, they don't mention that in the movie. They just make them like, I think they made it where she was like 20 and he was 30 or something like that. I didn't really like that, but I will say that I understand why they did it, but I don't like that I wish it would have been more accurate on that part. And there was a few other little parts, but that were inaccurate just to add a dramatic effect to the story and everything, which that's typical biopic stuff. And it doesn't bother me too bad. We've seen accurate versions of Elvis movies about his personal life and stuff, so them changing things a little bit is fine. And I kind of liked that it kind of added to the turning Colonel Parker into a villain story too, because before I knew some things about Colonel Parker, but after seeing this movie I realized how bad of a person he really was, and everything. I did some research to find out certain things that were true or not, and everything, and they were pretty faithful to the story though. It is for the most part a really faithful story, and they're very respectful to Elvis his story and his legacy and stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, they could have tried to make him look bad throughout the whole thing, but they didn't. And like they even showed some of the controversies about Elvis and stuff throughout the movie too, like how controversial he was when he first started because the way he danced, and him singing African American music and stuff like that. Them not wanting him to be singing that music and dancing like he does, and all the big controversies. I thought that was really cool, because I don't remember if they ever have actually done that in an Elvis movie where they really showed how controversial he was when he first started. And that was something that my grandma used to talk about when I was a kid, and I first really got into Elvis was back when Lilo and Stitch came out. And my grandma and I would sit and listen to his music and talk about it and talk about him and everything. She was like a really big fan of him. She was like a kid when he was really big and stuff. So and everything. And the entire time I was watching this movie, I was like, man, I really wish my grandma could have been here to see this movie, because I think she would have really enjoyed it. But I gotta say, this movie was amazing, and it's actually kind of made me want to get back into listening to Elvis's music and stuff again. I've kind of am going back into an Elvis phase now because of this movie and everything. I forgot how much I like a lot of his music and everything, and this movie just was really, really good. It's easily my favorite movie of the year so far. There's been so many disappointments this year. Two of the biggest last month with Lightyear and Jurassic World Dominion, but there hasn't been any movies that have blown me away this year until this one. I was completely blown away by this one. It really surprised me. And there's been movies that have been good. I like Doctor Strange and The Batman and Scream 5. They're all good movies. And Turning Red's a good movie, but none of them have been able to reach the quality that Elvis has. Like this is going to be one of the movies that I highly doubt will be out of my top 10 by the end of the year. It might even still be number one. Who knows? But for right now, it's easily my favorite movie of 2022, and it's such a great movie. I'd say I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Them putting that rap music and stuff is the only thing that's keeping it from a 10. I could have overlooked Tom Hanks's accent enough to give it a 10 if it wasn't for the rap music. Now, I don't really have much against rap. I like rap music some and everything. I just don't think it fit in this movie. If it would have been a different movie, it wouldn't have bothered me. But being a biopic about someone from back when Elvis was big, it just didn't fit. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. It's truly one of the biggest surprises of the year. I figured I would think it was okay, but I never expected it to be as good as it was and everything. This is the first time a Tom Hanks movie came out that I was a little worried I wasn't going to love it, because most of the time I know I'm going to love his movies, because Tom Hanks is he's Tom Hanks. Like, who doesn't love him? Most people who don't love him probably are pretty miserable, because Tom Hanks is just such a lovable dude. And he's not very good at playing villains usually. He's done it a few times, and those are some of my least favorite movies. But he finally got it right on playing a villain. This is the best time I've ever seen Tom Hanks play a villain and everything. When I heard he was going to be playing Colonel Parker, I was like, wasn't Colonel Parker like a big jerk that really scammed Elvis? Like, how was he going to be a good choice for it? But they knew what they were doing, so... But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of Elvis, and I hope you enjoy this video, and thank you very much.